Hello friends, a very important article has come up in the today's newspaper. The article is titled How the CPI Basket Conceals the Inflation Picture. It is written by Bibek Debroy, who is the chairman of Economic Advisory Council to the Prime Minister. Basically, in this article, Bibek Debroy, he finds several flaws in the CPI, that is Consumer Price Index, and then he says that there are certain things which we can do to improve the CPI, and if we want to measure the inflation properly, then that is the way to go. This is the basic context of the article. Before moving forward, let us first understand that what actually is CPI. CPI refers to Consumer Price Index. Basically, in India, there are four types of CPI. The first is CPI for industrial workers. Then there is CPI for agricultural labor. And then there is CPI for rural labor. Basically, all of these three, they are measured by the Labor Bureau. They are compiled by the Labor Bureau, which works under the Ministry of Labor and Employment. Apart from that, there is CPI, which is rural, urban and combined. It is having three divisions or sectors, which is rural, urban and combined. This is compiled by the NSO, that is National Statistics Organization. In this, basically, NSO functions under Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. That is the National Statistical Office is a part of MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Then there is another very important index which you should remember. This is Wholesale Price Index, that is WPI. WPI is compiled by Economic Advisor to DPIIT, that is Department for Promotion of Industry and Industrial Trade. This functions under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. One thing which is important to remember here is that CPI, it is measured on the basis of last pair index. What is last pair index? In last pair index, we take the weighted average of a basket of commodities. For example, let's say that I have a basket. See, in all these indices, what we do is basically we have a basket of commodities which the consumers use in that particular area. For example, let's say I am a person whose CPI or whose consumption the government wants to measure. So what they will do is they will come to me and they will ask me, sir, what is the consumption? That is, what are the items which you used in previous month? So I'll say, okay, I spent some of the money on food. Then again, I'll say, I spent 10% on transport. I will say, let's say I have said that for food, I spent 20%. Then again, I'll say that for my children's education, I'm spending 25%. Then again, I'll say that for my house rent, I am paying almost 20%, like that. So these things which I am spending on, this becomes the basket of my commodities which I am using. So like this, the people who work under the government, they go to different houses. There they compile the list of commodities or services which are being used by the average consumers. Now on the basis of that, the items which are frequently used by everyone, they come under a particular basket. So now what happens in this basket? Let's say like we had a look like a common person is using spending money on food, transport, let's say education, then again house rent. Now let's say these are the four commodities. Let's just assume that this person is spending money on these four commodities. Now for food, he's spending 20% of his money. For transport, 10%. For education, 25%. And let's say the remaining money, that is 45%, is being used to pay house rent. So now what will happen is that in the last pair index, we will measure the cost of the money which is spent on these items, and then it will be multiplied by the average, that is the proportion in which the money is being spent, and that is how, and then we will take the average. So that is how the index is being calculated. This is the basis of calculation of all these indices like CPI, WPI and the other indices which are using the last pair index. Now since we have understood CPI, we need to know that what are the weights of groups and subgroups. So basically in the center, this is CPI combined. Now in CPI combined, see, CPI combined is a very important index. This is the same index which is being used by RBI to measure the inflation in the country. Again, even the government, when it gives the dearness allowance to the people, to the employees, government employees, then this is the index which is being used by the governments also. So in CPI combined, we have different groups which are having subgroups. That is, which are having, see, these are kind of categories, or you can say sectors, and in that we are having subgroups. So for example, you will see that if we look at the groups, that food and beverages is having the maximum proportion. That is almost 45.86%. Then again, miscellaneous is the second biggest category, having almost 28%. Then we have housing, then fuel and light is there, then clothing is there, and then pan and the other intoxicants are there. Pan, tobacco and other intoxicants. So these are the major groups. Within these groups, we have different subgroups. For example, in food and beverages, we are having cereals. For just 2 minutes, please remember this, that cereals is having almost 9.67 proportion, that is percentage. Then we have milk and milk products, which is having almost 6.61. Then there are vegetables, meat and fish. Then there is oil and fats, fruits. Within the food and beverages, we have different categories of items. In miscellaneous, we have education, health and other things. Then again, housing is there, which is having housing only. Fuel and light is there. Clothing has clothing as well as footwear, like that. So this is how sectors are divided. Please remember, for the purpose of this article, we need to remember that cereals is having 9.67% and food and beverages is having 45.86%. So now on the basis of this, now we have developed an understanding of our article. On the basis of that, let us understand that what are the basic issues, what are the basic problems which are associated with the CPI. The first issue with CPI is that many of the items which are contained within these commodities, they are outdated. For example, in this basket of commodities, we are having items like torches. The torches which are used, which are battery powered and which are used to give light. Then we have radios. We have tape recorders. We have CDs and DVDs. We have audio video cassettes. And then there are these players. So these items are still contained in the basket of commodities. But as we know, not many of the people are using these items as of now. Now we have shifted to basically USBs, we have shifted to pen drives, and in fact, majorly nowadays, all these things are being done on the cloud. That is, the data is now contained in the cloud. If we want to, let's say, listen to music, then we don't need CDs, cassettes. We just simply log on to an app, and then on that application, we can play music as per our taste or preference. So therefore, the radio, tape, CDs, they are not worthy of being included in the basket as of now, in today's time. Similarly, if we look at torches, no one uses torches nowadays. Mostly we see that it is there in the mobile phone itself. It is a part of mobile phone. Then again, if we want some light, nowadays even electricity, it is there, it is available most of the time. And then the reach of electricity has increased to almost all the corners of the country. We believe now that probably even some night watchmen people, they are using torches. But then again, this is not exclusive index. This is basically an average person's index. Therefore, in such an index, having a particular item which is not being used generally by the population does not make any sense. So therefore, we must be having items which are having relevance to the today's consumption patterns, and therefore these items are outdated and should not be there in the basket. Second issue is disproportionate weight of food. As we just saw that the food is having 45.86% in the CPI. Now, if we have a look at so much weightage of food, the weightage of food, it is too much and it should be down. See, as a country develops, that is, as and when the economic growth happens in the country, the proportion of income which is spent on food, it decreases. This is actually called as Engel's law. In fact, what happens is that it might be possible that the absolute expenditure on food rises. For example, today I am spending 100 rupees on my food, let's assume. It might be possible that after 5 years, I am spending 150 rupees on food. But then again, if we talk about the income, let's say my income today is 1 lakh rupees. After 5 years, it will increase to rupees 5 lakh. Let's just assume. So now we see that as a percentage, the income, that is the proportion of income which is spent on food, it has decreased. In the absolute amount, it has increased by rupees 50. But as a percentage, if today it is, let's say now 0.1%, now it has decreased to 0.02%. The reason why this happens is, as the income of a person increases, the expenditure on non-food items increases. For example, let's say my income increases. So I will spend some more on food, that is true, but not much. After a certain point of time, when my food consumption is now okay for my benefit, that I have enough food to consume, I will shift towards spending on healthcare. I will go for preventive checkups. Till now, I was going to the hospital only in case of certain disease or the problem. Now I will just go for diagnostics and yearly regular checkups. Then again, expenditure on education increases. I will try to put my child in the best possible school if I have enough money. Then again, I will spend more on entertainment. If I don't have enough money, the mode of entertainment is just sitting in the society. I sit in the company of my friends and enjoy. But now if I have money, I'll go to the malls, I'll watch a movie, and that is how I'll entertain myself. Then again, I'll get digital services like, for example, internet. I will spend more on internet. So this is how, when as a person's income increases, the expenditure on non-food items increases. In fact, many of the countries have updated this. In developed countries of the West, many of them you will find that food actually comprises very small proportion of their basket of commodities. So this is one issue. Now again, the second is disproportionate weight of cereals. As we just saw that cereals are having a weightage of almost 9.67% in this basket of CPI. So therefore we see that again, what has happened a few years ago, in fact 25 years ago almost, we see that the habit of people was having food in their homes itself, which has now changed to that people are now ordering food from outside, or they are just going outside for fun and then they are eating food outside. At that time, what used to happen was that we used to have rotis and rice along with some kind of curry at home itself. But now these things have changed. Nowadays, the food composition has undergone a definite differentiation. There is a diversification in the food intake. We are having more vegetables, we have included more fruits in our diet, we are having different kind of fast foods also. So the reliance on cereals has decreased. One reason for this decrease in reliance on cereals is because of diversification in the food habits. But then again, there is also a second reason. See, many of the people will claim, many experts say that yes, you are talking about the middle class itself when we say that the food habits have changed. But for poor, the food habits have not changed. Cereals still constitute a big proportion in their spending. That is rice and wheat. But then again, please remember that India is a country which takes its social welfare policies very seriously. So we are having PDS system, that is public distribution system. When we were discussing the PDS system, when we were discussing the Karnataka Anna Bhagya scheme, if you have not seen, please have a look at it. The Anna Bhagya scheme, in that we have seen, in fact, not just Anna Bhagya, but even in full PDS scheme, we see that rice, wheat and coarse cereals, they are available at a subsidized cost of rupees 3, 2 and 1 per kg respectively. So in that case, we see even the poor are shielded from paying very high amounts for cereals, because they can get these cereals at a very low cost, at a very subsidized cost. So even if we talk about an average person, an average poor person, we see that even their spending on food, especially cereals, is very less because of the government support. Therefore, assigning almost 10% weightage to cereals also is not actually accurate, and it will not make the government arrive at an accurate number for CPI. Therefore, this is also another issue concerning CPI. Next issue is top items. What do we mean by top? Top refers to tomato, onion and potato. See, what happens is that if we talk about Indian consumer usually consumes a very spicy food. We have different spices. We use turmeric, we use garam masala, we use salt, we use too much chilies, and we use different other spices. Similarly, we use onion. Potato is almost, in fact, we are using it almost with every vegetable. Even if we are making brinjal, we are making tomatoes, we are making anything, we put some potato in between. Then there is tomato. So these products, the quantity being used of these products is very high, and therefore they are having a very disproportionate impact on the consumer price index. But then again, the author, Mr. Bibek Debroy, he says that, in fact, he quotes another person, Ashok Gulati. He says that the impact of tomato, onion and potato, these products, is very volatile in nature. For example, you see that nowadays the prices of tomato, they are very high. They are almost reaching 200 rupees per kg at some places. So this price is very, very volatile. The cost of these products, it increases and decreases with monsoons, with weather conditions and such other conditions. If floods are there, if drought are there, the products of these goods, they increase. If there is oversupply, it decreases. There is a glut. So in that case, we see that for top items, that is tomato, onion, potato, their prices are volatile and therefore they should not be having such a great impact on our overall inflation. Next issue which Mr. Bibek Debroy points out in this index is the slower updation of data. See what happens, what is the base of this CPI, that how is the data collected? The data is collected by the NSO, that is the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, through the Household Consumption Expenditure Survey, that is Household Consumption Expenditure Survey, CES. Now, as of now, in July 2023, as we are discussing this article, the first round of CES is underway. The second round will be conducted next year, that is July 2024. After that, now, as we see, what happens is this data will be compiled and then it will take another 3 to 6 months for that compilation to be printed. That is, for it to be collected, and then for final publishing, it will take another 3 to 6 months. Now, first of all, the author says that the time you are taking to spend, that is your time you are spending to compile this data, is too generous. You are taking so much time, 3 to 6 months in this digital age. This is so much. See, nowadays, if we talk about even census, the census is now using digital palm held devices, kind of like a smartphone. So now every entry you want to make, you can just put it in some kind of smart device. Then you can collect this data and compile it at the click of a button. You just need to enter some formulas and this digital device, it will compile the data itself. So there is no need to worry about it. There is no need to spend so much time on this exercise. And therefore, the 3 to 6 months you are taking is too much. See what will happen in this. They'll come to some, there will be a sampling data. That is, there will be almost some houses in which the government employees will go and they will ask different questions on this. This data will then come to a central office, first of all regional office, then central office, there it will be compiled and then the reports will come, the formula will be applied. In fact, not written in the article, but then again, the common logic says that why not just have, if you want to see that what are the major commodities which are being used by the average consumer, why not ask for the data simply from Amazon or Flipkart? See, I can understand that Amazon and Flipkart cannot tell you that what is the house rent you are paying, what is the education, that is school fees you are paying, what is the healthcare, but they can definitely tell you that what are the commodities being used in an average Indian household. They can tell you how much cereals, see, the grocery delivery is now being done by these websites. You can ask the corporates that what is the sale, what are you selling, rather than going for what is the person buying, you can go for what are the corporates selling, and they can report on your website directly. So that can be one solution. The government needs to think out of the box. There will be some problems, I can understand, but then the people are there. They can come at the different, they can find solutions to these problems. So there should be no worry at all. Now again, there is so much time being spent, 3 to 6 months it will take. So therefore, the report will then be released in December 2024 about this CES, that is the expenditure survey. Now, when December 2024 the report will be released, on the basis of that, the commodities will be updated probably 3 to 6 months later. So this is not justified that the data which you are collecting in July 2023, you are updating it after March 2025, that is almost 2 years later. And when you will update at that time, again the commodities would have shifted. It is possible that every average consumer would be using smart watches at that time. Average consumers are using different commodities which are being used at this time. People have shifted to cloud rather than using pen drives. So therefore, it needs to be done that we need to understand that this is not anymore the age where you need to compile everything on paper basis. Use technology, use tools, do it faster, do not spend 2 years for this exercise. And therefore, these are the major issues which Mr. Bibek Debroy finds in the consumer price index of today. So now these problems which we have just now learned, they are causing many issues. What issues? See, as I just told, that CPI is the base through which the government measures inflation in the country. Now, if there are problems with CPI, issues are associated with CPI, just like slower updation, disproportionate weight, then how can we expect the inflation data to be measured accurately? We will not be able to track the inflation rates if we are not updating this data regularly. We need to update the basket of commodities regularly, and we should do it in a hurried manner. It should not be done in such a huge gap of almost 2 years. Similarly, now how do we arrive at the level of poverty, absolute poverty in the country? We will never know what is the level of poverty in the country. What is the amount below which, if a person is spending or household is spending, they are considered as poor? What is the amount above which a person comes in middle class or let's say affluent class? Because the data which we are using, the commodities which we are using, they are now faulty. People are not using these commodities anymore. So again, the population, the terms which you come up, that is the amount of the poverty which is existing in the country, you will not be able to determine it in an accurate manner. And if there is so much problem in your calculations, then again you need to update your tools. You need to update your softwares. You need to update the equipment which is being used by the government employees to collect this data. And therefore, these are the major issues which come up with these problems, which come up due to this non-updation. See, nowadays we see that the basket of commodities, it is now a very fluid basket. It is evolving every day. Gone are the days when people used to spend only on what they required. Earlier times, people of India, they were mighty savers. They used to do a lot of savings. Nowadays, people are spending money on their hobbies. They are spending money on the different things which they want to spend upon. They are going for tours. They are spending money on education. They are spending money on different other things which they require. Now people are living in bigger houses. Earlier, the people, they used to live in their ancestral houses. Now they are moving outside. There is a clear shift in the societal preferences nowadays. Even we can say that the things which were used to be considered earlier as a luxury, now they have become necessities. Earlier, we used to see that even ACs were there in very less homes. Nowadays, it has become a need. Similarly, we also see that as the times have progressed, there are technological advancements. Earlier, we used to see that phones were not their commonplace. Nowadays, everyone has a smartphone. And it is not anymore a luxury. It is a requirement nowadays. You want to have financial transactions, you need a smartphone. You need to study, you need a smartphone. All of these things have now changed. So societal needs, the preferences of people, the economy is improving. Technology is changing. Cost of living is changing. And that is why we need to keep ourselves updated with the commodities, and that is how the government should be updating these indexes so that they are arriving at an accurate data. So this is what is written in the article. If you want us to take any more articles or any other topics, please let us know. Also, I will be trying to put all the slides and the other material in the description box. If you want, you can click it, link it, and then go ahead and check out whatever you need. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.